the Shipe Sports Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Shipe Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Matthew Shipe, joined always by my co-host and producer, Paul.
Hey, Frozen Matt, what's happening, buddy?
Doing good. How you doing, Paul? Joined to my left by Chris Cordova.
What's going on, everybody?
And
Seems like every week this happens. Well, last week we were good.
Last week we were good.
Is it just me that's frozen?
No,
Chris too.
Looks like everybody.
That's a nice picture.
No, except for Coach.
Coach is good. Coach
And then-
is the only one that's...
And then across from us back today is David, the Coach Shipe.
It's good to be back. Good
Big
to be
warm
back.
welcome for Mr.
Yeah.
Shipe.
He's been out coaching football for Gaithersburg. How's everything looking out there for the JV team?
Hot.
I'm asking the team, not the weather.
Well, no, we're looking pretty good. We're, us in the varsity, all the kids are working hard, and you see some improvement out there with both of them. We had scrimmages last Friday with River Hill, Damascus, and Suitland. And if you want to see how you're progressing, Damascus is more than likely the best team you like to see if how your progression is going. They are a pretty darn good team again this year. So we're getting it. We're getting there.
That's not good for business, though. In Gaithersburg, right?
Well, we don't have to play them. That's why we scrimmage them. They're not on our schedule.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
real quick, before we get going more with the show, we're watching the Nats game as we're, live in studio. And, God, can we all just agree that whenever Trey Turner gets on the... I think he's
out.
Well, they didn't review it, so...
They call him safe?
Yeah. That whenever he gets on base, it's pretty much a double.
Oh,
See,
really?
you can't tell on that angle if he's safe. No, they're doing a review, I believe. But whenever that kid gets on base... Chris just saw... that's the first time you've ever seen him, probably?
No, I've seen him before.
Oh, they got him. He's out.
Yeah, he should be out.
Yeah, he's out. But that little hit he did, he was beating the runner by how many steps? The throw, probably 3 or 4 steps.
It was
He
about
was past
2
there.
or 3
Yeah.
steps.
It's
for
an
sure.
automatic.
First.
I think he maybe had a bad jump here, but it's almost an automatic double every time. So, all right, let's get into the show. We're going to start off with the Washington Redskins' second preseason game against the Jets, where they came out victorious 22-18. I think all three of us can agree, first off, Kirk Cousins didn't play. He was a late scratch.
Right.
I believe Josh Norman didn't play either, so a couple of their starters weren't in there.
Deshaun Jackson.
Deshaun,
but I think
Garcon.
once again, we all can agree their defense played pretty good again.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick only went 4 for 9 for 35 yards. I believe he played, good 2 or 3 series. And, this defense is looking better than what people thought. Chris, did you get to watch any of the game?
Yeah, I watched some of it here and there. If this was the first preseason game, I would probably say that it's more on Fitzpatrick because he's been holding out for so long.
Mhm.
He's probably just rusty.
Mhm.
But these are 2 games consecutively basically shutting down the first-team offenses. And I think that's definitely a good plus right now.
Well, they shut down a really good pass attack in Ryan and Julio
Yeah.
Jones. They're doing pretty good so far. The run game couldn't
they've
get
pretty
going
much
either.
shut down two elite receivers in Marshall and Jones.
And the first team offense, without Deshaun and Kurt Colt moved down the field, made a very horrible decision in the end zone instead of just throwing the ball away into the
Yeah.
upper deck. He just lobbed it in the back, and you got Darrell Rivas sitting back there. What did you think was going to happen?
It was like a half throwaway, half maybe something will happen, but it should have been a full-on throwaway.
Should have been in the upper deck.
It should have definitely been way in the crowd.
Yeah, a little bit more effort with the throw.
Yeah.
So at halftime, they're up 14-2. They had I think it was a penalty in the end zone that cost them. And also in the first quarter, they had a couple. They had the one touchdown called back. That was to I believe it was to Rashard Ross. That was a very good pass or catch. It was called back due to I think it was a personal foul on someone. So the first team offense 0 points, but you got to be happy with them taking down the field. Now Kurt's in that position. Maybe Kurt throws the ball away. You never know. Colt is trying to prove. I don't know what he's trying to prove. I think Colt.
Yeah, I think he's solid at number
Colt,
2.
yeah, Nate's got, sorry, dude, he hasn't really shown much. I don't see them even keeping 3 QBs on the roster. But, I'm impressed with his first-team defense. Norman, he didn't play. And the whole, Norman, with him real quick, ESPN, can we stop with the videos? The only times you want to show Norman on ESPN is when he's having a bad one or two plays that have gone bad, but they don't show any of the good things he's probably done. You haven't seen any of those videos because no one's posting them. All they want to do is just go on Norman because he came out and said he's the best cornerback in the league, which doesn't probably help out his cause. But ESPN seems to just have some fantasy about Josh Norman. I mean, what do you two think about that?
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Shipe.
Go ahead. You go first, Chris.
No, I was just gonna
I'm
say
newcomer.
I've definitely on Instagram and on Facebook and all over social media. I've definitely seen videos of Josh Norman getting beat by Pierre Garçon,
Mhm.
by Deshaun Jackson, whether it's on an out route, whether it's a fade route. But this is practice. I mean, I really don't put much weight on those videos because those are, like you said, 10, 15-second clips of one play. How do we know that Norman didn't win on the 4 other throws that he was thrown at?
Right.
I don't really put much weight
It's a
to it.
story for ESPN
Yeah.
because they can just keep going with it. Oh, look at Norman.
Yes.
And it's mostly
It
hate
gives
to
him something, and
Yeah.
you give everybody looking at it, oh wow, he's not really as good as he is. But you're coming into a different system
Yeah.
than what he played in Carolina. So now he's getting used to it. I think what he said in the papers, I think a couple days ago, he's getting used to the system with the communication,
Right.
with the different players. And that's a big thing back there in the secondary, especially in pro. If you're not communicating the right thing, then they're not going to know whether to stay on the up route, get to the back route, so the communication. And, the one-on-one with those guys, if you look at it, what are they in there? They're soft shoulder pads if they are or nothing. I mean, you're not going to play any more aggressive with that equipment,
Right.
than what they're doing. I mean, so they make a move here and there. Okay, he's really maybe, learning what the system calls for him to be in what position
Yeah.
in those moves. So that went back and forth all spring training down in Richmond. It gave for good news, good reports, good shows.
They
And it
got
gave,
clicks.
yeah,
They got
it,
views.
yeah, and it gave all the spectators that went down a little something to
Something to talk
hoop,
about.
yeah, hoop and holler around, get excited.
Yeah.
But you know who
So-
this mostly is? Those damn guys from First Stage. Stephen A. and whoever the hell the other bonehead guy is who's, what's his hot take, camera on me or some stupid thing like that.
I don't know. I haven't watched it.
I
Yeah.
I thought maybe with Skip leaving, I thought maybe it would tone down. No, it's still just as bad. Stephen A. is just still, I can't stand the guy. I don't think he belongs on ESPN. He's critical except for people in New York. Of course, he's a New York guy. Of course, he's going to take Odell's side and everything. But it's just like that show is the one that attacks Josh Norman the most out of any show on ESPN. And I don't know what it is because of what he said during the offseason. He's the best cornerback or whatever. But something about that show that just doesn't like Josh Norman. And to be honest with you, it's getting a little annoying to see that on ESPN
You gotta
every week and week out.
It makes for them. It makes for a good conversation. I mean, they got to come up with something to talk about, and sometimes first thing that comes to their mind, and we talked about this last week. Let's start again. So
Why
It's
not?
every week.
one of the shows. I know there's a few people that don't like the show. So
It's a lot of people.
We'll find out really early because their first 3 games, he's going to have
Brown,
Antonio Brown,
Des Bryant.
Des Bryant,
yeah,
and, of course, the rematch with Odell Beckham.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
see how that
so-
goes.
yeah.
And then-
It's not going to stop because in the first 3 weeks, you're going to see right then and
Right.
there.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to either show up or he's going to get burned.
Let's talk about the surprise guy on defense who could potentially end up in the starting rotation. That's Stuart Cravens,
Yeah.
who's
Oh,
playing
yes.
excellent
Oh, yes.
special teams defense. He's everything they wanted. He's everything this team wanted him to be in the second round, and they said that he was a steal in the second round.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
They drafted him in the second round. I mean, you want him to be there. And they drafted him to be, was it safety kind of linebacker?
like a hybrid,
Strong,
hybrid.
Right.
strong safety could come up, in their 3-4
Right.
and cover a tight end, a back out of the backfield with his speed that he has. Then if you had to, you put another strong safety back there to play your coverage, and now you got him up front, the linebacker.
I
with
think
Compton.
this is the type of thing. This is what Sean Taylor would be if he got drafted right now. He'd probably be a safety that could come up,
Right.
play that up position against the run. I think he's almost like they said, and what he said, he's a mold of what they hoping not another Sean Taylor,
Right.
but someone who can fill that void, which they
Yeah.
haven't had since his tragic passing. They haven't had a safety since he passed. Because LaRon Landry was a complete bust and everything that you don't want in a safety. And this guy is someone that they want. So we'll see how he progresses.
Yeah, no,
Um,
he was a great getaway. I
Yeah.
mean, they picked him there because of his athleticism and everything, so that made that pick very good for them.
And the other top pick, Dotson, Gruden came out today and said he probably won't start the season on the PUB list. So hopefully we'll see him in the preseason week 4.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
They're pushing him for week 4. If he can't make week 4, at least he'll be ready for week 1.
Yeah, but he hasn't had any game time experience. That's going to be
That's
the
fine.
problem. But he won't. The good thing about Dotson is he you can almost say he's a year project because of their depth. He doesn't have to get thrown in right away. He
No,
can
he really
gradually
yeah.
come along, which is what they need.
Well, he's been getting some work in. I mean, the trainers and all that stuff. They've been working with him to get it. So if it come times when he needs to get out and practice with the team, everything, he'll be ready.
Yep.
He'll be ready. They'll have him ready.
All right, last thing from this preseason game, Matt Jones went out injured. They said he's done for the rest of the preseason, but this run game as a whole has just
It hasn't produced.
it sucked. I don't know if it's the
Well,
offensive line
Well,
or
yeah,
what
you-
is it.
Yeah, you don't have the full offensive line
That's
that
I don't
you're
true.
going
think
to have
Williams
week 1
hasn't played
intact.
yet, has he?
He has not.
Yeah.
No.
He has not. But they did make progress in this preseason 2.
Until Jones got
Preseason
hurt.
2 game until he got hurt, of course.
Mhm.
But I mean, he did have over 4 yards of carry when he got hurt. So I did see a little bit of progress there, but it's
I
gonna
don't
be-
like their depth behind him.
That's what I was gonna say. It's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting to see who's gonna step up.
They don't
after
have a power guy behind him. I don't think because Tris Thompson's not a power back.
He's not.
He's
But
a
I did
change of
like
base.
what he did though. I mean, I really think he's gonna be. If for some reason, Jones can't make it week 1, I think he's gonna be. Well, I mean, we still
Expect
haven't.
a lot of throwing.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say if he's in there, then we're gonna be throwing the ball.
If you
a
got
lot.
Kurt on your fantasy team, probably start him in week 1. We'll go
Yeah.
over that later.
And with that question, you don't know right now if they're looking for anybody out there that
Gets
could be
cut. A lot of people get cut.
Yeah, you're going to see
That's
him.
why I said a
Right.
couple of weeks ago they should have went and signed Adrian Foster to a 1-year deal
Yeah.
because he wouldn't have had to been the workhorse.
And look what Arian Foster did this past week against the Cowboys. I think he got 5 rushes for -5 yards or -1 yard or something. Either way, he didn't have any positive plays.
oh,
no
you just
plus
made
yardage.
me. You just made me sound like an idiot then for bringing him in.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying it's a different team. I'm just saying.
I don't know what the process was, but the running back, the starter for the last 4 years, he gets picked up by Dallas because
Right.
they didn't want to
And he
resign
had a
him.
touchdown this week.
I don't know. You'll never hear it or say it, but it was a mistake that,
I
even
agree.
if you had Matt Jones, okay,
It's not like Morris is
No,
such a huge contract that you can't keep him.
no, Morris is not going to complain. If you split time with two of them,
Nope.
He didn't say a word last year when it
Nope.
was going on,
Nope.
and now with, Jones being hurt, if Alfred was still there, then you don't worry about anything, because you have a veteran that can take the load.
Yeah.
All right, so real quick, let's talk about I can't believe I'm gonna talk about them, the Cowboys, and almost to the point where Romo better watch his back because this rookie's playing his ass off in the I know it's preseason or
Right.
whatnot, but he's putting up numbers.
Oh yeah.
He even put
I
up
think
numbers
he had
when
a perfect rating this past.
I
game,
think he
right?
even put up. I
158?
think he played with the first team the first week, didn't he? And threw a nice ball
yeah,
to
I believe
death.
so.
Who's this
Did-
guy?
His name is
Dak
Prescott. Prescott. He was with Mississippi State. Mississippi. Yeah, he was he Ole Miss or Mississippi State?
Mississippi State.
He was Mississippi State.
He was pretty good down there too.
What round did he go?
Late round, late. I
Yeah, they
think.
got him
Oh,
late
really?
round.
He
Yeah.
made one play where he was scrambling, fell on the ground, held one hand to where he wasn't down, got up and threw a strike. Wasn't even like a lob or anything. It was a straight up strike. I mean, it was just. I tell you what, this year if the Cowboys, if Tony Romo goes down, I think they're in good hands. I think.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
from what
they're
we've
they're
seen.
hoping Tony doesn't go down, but like you said, the way he's playing, okay, if anything happens, I think they're looking at, hey, we may be okay, and here's our future that we've been looking for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because
So-
Romo's not going to be around for another 10
No.
years.
No,
The future.
And based off injury history, I mean,
right.
he's bound to miss
He-
a couple games.
I think if he gets another serious shoulder something or whatever,
Right.
forbid, this could be it for him.
Why'd you knock on wood?
You always, look, it's
No,
the
you
old.
never wish injury on someone.
Yeah, because
No.
now Kurt may get hurt.
Never wish
No,
injury.
you,
That's why you don't
you
do that.
never. That's why knock on wood.
Yeah.
Nothing really serious happens to him.
So I mean, the Cowboys looking good. According to Skip Bayless, they're gonna win the damn Super Bowl. By the way, they've been
Oh, yeah,
looking.
he's a
Well,
Dallas
I mean,
guy.
he's a Dallas guy,
Yeah.
right?
He is
But
up there, bud.
if we're gonna go to Cowboys, if you look at the Giants game this past weekend, it was terrible. I think they had more penalties than they had first downs. It was
It's-
absolute
yeah,
mess.
I don't know what they're doing over there in New York on the Jersey side.
Right.
But it's not producing anything.
No, it was
Not
not
yet,
a good
anyway.
showing for Eli
Yeah.
Manning. It was not a good showing for Rashad Jennings. It was terrible
No.
for that first team offense. I think it had to do a lot with their offensive line. I think is what I read. There was just absolutely no blocking
Yeah,
anywhere.
that's a building area right there.
Right. So I think they got to work on that. If Odell Beckham's going to have a good year, if Eli Manning's going to have a good year, he's going to need that protection. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll be interesting to see because we get him week 3, and I
Right.
think our defense looks ready right now. So
Yep.
let's see what we can do week 3.
All right. So then my team Titans. We lost to the Panthers this week in a hard fought game. Mariota had over 100 passing ratings, so he's still looking good in the preseason. So hopefully he can continue to take the next step because I really do believe the AFC South I think is wide open. I think all these teams are up and coming. And the Colts, they had injuries last year, but even before Luck went down, their defense is still struggling.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I really do believe that division's wide open.
And it's only wide open because the Colts really did take a step back this year. But I think they're going to get right back in it.
I think this whole division, you look at all the quarterbacks, they're all young. I think it really depends on which quarterback steps up. I mean, they're all, I think,
And if I had
5
to bet,
years or
if I had to bet my
Luck.
paycheck on
Yeah.
one of those quarterbacks, I'd bet on Luck.
I mean, you got
Yeah.
Luck, obviously Indianapolis.
Right?
But then you got Blake Bortles with 2 great receivers. You got Osweiler, coming off of, I guess, Super Bowl winning team. He
Yeah.
was behind Peyton Manning.
He played some of those games.
Yeah,
so
he
it's-
has Hopkins. He has DeAndre Hopkins. Then you got Tennessee, Mariota with the mobile, being a mobile quarterback,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and the
Well, they got him a running game down in
Yeah.
Tennessee now.
and then
Big help.
also the
Big help.
emergence of this fifth round wide receiver Sharp, who since he
Right.
emerged made Darrell Green Beckham expendable,
Expendable.
and they went and traded him. So we'll see what happens there. Apparently, also Andre Johnson's in the best shape he says he's felt in the
Right.
last 3 years. Did you see what he's been doing lately? He hasn't taken any of the veteran days off. He's been out there every day. Whether that wears on his body, we'll find out. But he hasn't taken any days off.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good. He's definitely one of the good guys. I would
You
say.
like
and
you like players like that.
yeah.
Next year he'll be with the Jaguars probably. He's been with every AFC South team. Hey, he loves the division. He doesn't want to leave the South. You
Yeah,
see.
that's true.
So all right. So we're gonna switch gears here. We're gonna go into the MLB and talk some Nationals. Right now, the National
What's
stands.
MLB.
You're first in the fantasy league. You should know what it is.
I do. I am first.
Right
That's
now, we have the Nationals who are 73-51. They're 8 games ahead of Miami, 11 games of the Mets. I think you can pretty much write the Mets off at this point.
Yeah, they've got
Yeah.
a lot of injuries.
Yeah, you
They're-
can write the Mets
you
off.
know.
But I think they're 6 games behind Chicago for that number 1 spot.
But you better be careful of the Mets when you're getting late in the season.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about the Mets. Stop worrying about the Mets and worry about the
Those are
guys behind them.
Those are the teams that
The-
an
the-
old man like me or an old coach, when you get to that part of the season,
They don't mess around. With
you don't
You don't
play
take
with
the- you
them
don't
and
take the
put them
gas.
here. They're the ones that can knock you out.
They're going to have this division wrapped up by the 3rd week or 2nd week of September. I think this division is going to be out of
I don't think it's going to
Well,
be
okay,
out of
we'll find
whack until the last
Anyway.
week and a half.
Let me ask you a question, Matt, before you move on
Yeah,
with that.
go ahead.
Would the Mets be closer to the Nationals if they didn't get rid of their best player?
Murphy?
Yeah.
I think it'd be a completely different story right now. We'll be talking about 2 different things. And I know a Mets fan, my OT3 host, who says wasn't worth it giving Murphy that contract. You know what? It's worth it because the guys may win the MVP this year. Now, whether he keeps us going the next year, but what that contract for Murphy was based off what he did in the postseason,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what the Nationals need. When they went to the postseason 2 years ago, only Harper was hot. No one else was. This is about people getting hot at the right time, and Murphy did. So hopefully Murphy keeps it going.
I mean,
Harper-
it wasn't just the
What they
postseason.
need right now is Harper to get going, and he is. He just got a
All right.
base hit his first at bat here. He's hitting, I think, above 300 since coming back from his little 7 days vacation or whatever it was.
Vacation.
So I mean, he's doing fine. The thing with the Nats is right now is you have Strasburg who won the DL, but Rizzo came out and said that if the playoffs were next week, he wouldn't be on the DL. He'd be playing through this. Tim Kirchin, who's for ESPN, but he lives in the area. I think he covers the most national news.
Yeah.
He said this is more of a rest time for Steven Strasburg. This is him getting some rest, is what they're talking about, which is what he did last year. Remember, he went on the stint for 15 days, came
Right.
back, was
Right.
lights out the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. Hopefully that's all it is.
Right. I mean, his arm is tired. It's tired.
Which a lot of people get tired this
And
time of year.
The one that I start thinking about now is Matt Scherzer. Okay, he has pitched a lot of innings.
Yeah.
He's pitched a lot of innings. Is his arm going to show some fatigue? Okay, because he goes deep into the game, and him, Strasburg, you want them ready in, I'd say, mid-September to get back in form for the playoffs in October. So I just hope that Scherzer, he just may be a mad dog and just say hell with it and just go with it all the way. I mean, it's just his arm, because he pitches at least averages into the 8th inning. Okay, so I just I worry about him. Okay, getting a tired arm, and God, we don't want him to have a tired arm in the playoffs.
I agree, and I think more recently I have him on my fantasy team, so I kind of been watching him a little bit. He hasn't been as lights out as he has been in the past couple months, and I don't know if that has to do with fatigue. I don't know if it has to do with teams starting to figure him out a little bit, but I wouldn't mind him sitting for a little bit. I really wouldn't.
And that comes in because you have, I mean, you got A.J. Cole, you got Perez, who's pitching tonight?
No, it's not Perez.
Not
it's
Lopez. Well, Perez, Lopez, you should see me out there with the football players. They got these names, and I have to come up with nicknames for them that way I can remember them. But you got two good right there that'll fill in for, any of these guys. I mean, and Cole pitched a good game last night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he took the loss, but I mean.
Yeah, he took the loss, but God, if the Nats were hitting, it probably would have been lights out. And in the amount of men that they left on base, last night was,
Yeah, it was a good game last night. I only saw bits and pieces, but a 4-3 game,
Mm-hmm.
And this is what his was it his second? Not his second start, was it?
This year, I think.
Yeah,
Second
this
start
year.
Yeah, I mean, he did pretty well against a hot team.
Right.
Well, here's the thing right now is someone posted this, that if the Nationals, let's say they drove 500 the rest of the way, the Mets would have to lose only 8 games, and the Marlins could only lose like 10 games, and I can't see either of those teams doing that. So like the Nationals just play
good thing,
just play 500 baseball and you're fine. Lopez right now is struggling to begin the game, but that's all right. This is the bad thing about playing Baltimore is they don't have pitching, but they got hitters.
Well,
Especially the guy off the bat right now.
Well, here's
Mr.
from
Machado.
here's from an old man's perspective. Okay, even when they had the old Washington Senators in town,
Oh man.
Baltimore, when they come there or come here, it was a Baltimore win. The old Senators could not match the Orioles at any point in time. They may beat them here and there, but the Orioles had the overall best record, and it's getting. I guess history keeps coming in circles. So now you have the Nationals in town. They're playing, and they struggle with the Orioles.
Right.
One of the struggling things I saw in the paper or read that, Harper against the Orioles, just against the Orioles, is batting 175. He's under the Mendoza line. And for you guys that don't know, Manny Mendoza was a second baseman with the Chicago Cubs back in the 50s, 60s. Never hit above 200. So when you hear a Major League players oh, he's under the Mendoza line. So, but he got a base hit tonight, so maybe I'll get him up. But it's just that Washington teams have struggled with Baltimore with the Orioles.
I have a question.
Given.
I have a question for you guys. I heard this on the radio today. Can you be a fan of both of the Nationals and the Orioles, or do you think you really can't be, since for all those years the Orioles owner was trying to keep a team from coming here, and even costing his team players and wins? It looked like his attendance were bad. Can you be a fan of both? Because it seems like people in Baltimore, they hate the hell out of us down here.
Well, it's
but down
been
here,
that.
it's just like, it's whatever. I mean, do you feel like
It's always been that in Baltimore.
do you feel like this could end up, should it be like the equivalent of New York and
Being
the Mets?
Shimbaya, holding hands.
No.
I mean, can you be a fan of both, or do you have to choose one?
I think we're still just happy to have baseball
Yeah,
here, right?
we've been out of it for so
Yeah.
long. I mean, I personally, and we used to go over and watch the Orioles, so we got
You
to
came
be
with us.
the,
Mhm.
For a
the
few of those.
Oriole favorites. I mean, and that was a time when Cal Ripken. Since then, even after Cal retired, I guess I never really focused on the Orioles.
We were
But
just
I would,
waiting
you
for
know,
one to come.
But that was all we had.
Yeah, that's all we had.
That's all we had.
Or you go up Frederick and watch the Keys.
That's true.
I mean, that those were your options. But an Oriole-based team.
Exactly. I was gonna say the Keys is
But
Orioles.
if you were an always Washington fan, the Senators or whatever, and then wow, we got it back in.
DC.
We're back. We have a team in DC. So if you floated over to Baltimore just for that, okay. If you're a hometown, you come right back, and the Nationals are it, baby. There's nothing but the Nationals, and that's the way I feel now. You know, this is the Nationals. Okay, this is the old Washington. Now we have a team.
Mm-hmm.
It's ours.
All right. So real quick, we're talking about finishing 500. I'm looking at their schedules here. After the Orioles, Colorado losing record, Philly losing record, Mets losing record, Atlanta losing record, Phillies losing record, Mets losing record, Atlanta losing. That's 7 straight series of losing records, and then you have the Miami, Pittsburgh, and then you finish off Arizona, Miami. Those 7 straight
right.
series, you got to win all those series.
Okay,
Take 2
okay,
of 3.
let's
If you
go-
take 2 or 3, it's done. You're going to win
All
the
right,
division.
Let's go back to the last series with the Braves. They split the 4-game series.
No, it's not.
It's
It's
3-1.
3-1.
3-1.
That's all you got to do.
All right. Yeah. Just
They should have
win
swept
the
them.
series.
They should have swept.
should have, but here comes the bullpen. Okay. Here comes the bullpen. It's, sometimes it's like, Custard Little Bighorn. We're going to surround you, and what the hell are you going to do?
Wait a minute. Hold on. When the hell did Ryan Zimmerman grow a beard? What is that?
Well,
It's like Tanner. I thought it
well,
was Tanner Rourke out there playing
when you're
first.
off for a
I
while,
was gonna say
things
you
happen.
haven't seen him on
But
the
I tell
on
you
the
what,
TV in a while.
he's
so-
hit-
hitting the
he's
ball.
hitting- maybe it's
Yes,
the beard.
He is. It's
I
possible.
thought it was Tanner Rourke playing first.
It gives him a little bit more weight up front, so now he can.
He's been hitting the
swing-
ball, which is what they need.
That's
If you can get
yep,
him,
hitting.
Ramos, Murphy, and Harper hitting, you're fine. And Worf, you have no problem with him getting on base. Did you see the record he had?
Right.
It was like
consecutive
45,
games,
45
yeah.
sense saves being on. Now, not
Yeah.
hits, but wherever you had to do to
Getting
get
on
on
base.
base.
You got to get on base anyway.
All right, so let's look after the Orioles. Let's look at these 7 straight series
Okay.
you have. If you win all those series, you got the division wrapped up before you even have to go to Miami, probably on the 19th. You more likely have that division wrapped up,
Right.
which is hopefully what they have. That
Should
way,
be in like 3 weeks, 3
yeah,
weeks.
like I said, middle of the if you September 19th, this division could be wrapped up.
All right. Look if you can look and see who Miami has to play in that same time frame.
And those 7 things, let's look.
Well, that will determine and give you a good break of if can Miami gain a couple. Now they're 8 up now.
all right, here we go. Miami,
Go ahead.
Miami they're playing Kansas City
Right.
this week. Then you
Dude,
have
that's tough.
San Diego losing record, Mets losing, Cleveland. They could
That's
help
tough.
us.
That's tough.
Then they have Philly losing, and then you have L.A. the Dodgers.
So they got really, I would say two tough series, Dodgers and Cleveland,
Right.
because they're both in pennant races.
And then they finish
Kansas City, maybe.
And then after they play us, they have Atlanta, Mets, Washington. So it should be, if we can win games, if Cleveland and Dodgers can do their jobs and win, we should be fine.
Mm-hmm. Now that Miami's also in the race for the wild card, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's pressure on them to, that could. You look at the last 3 series that Miami has. That could be series that push them into the playoffs as a wild card. So, and I still say that's the final series with Washington, correct?
Yeah.
That could be an important series because if Miami has to get in, they're up, well to do, but you don't want Miami to come in and take your series, the last series, and you're looking at they may need that to get into the playoffs as a wild card. But I always say as an old fart, don't take any team lightly, especially in pro ball.
Here we go. For the wild cards right now,
We got.
well, you got the Orioles are in there right
The
now with
Giants.
Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you got 3 American League East teams in the playoffs, if you include. So right now, Miami.
Oh, I thought we were looking at NL right now.
No. So right now, you have Miami's outside looking in. They're behind the Giants and the Cardinals. And that's going to be 2 very hard teams to pass.
How far are they behind?
Now,
Y'all
I
got the
hope.
computers.
Now, I hope we win our
Not
thing
far.
and we come.
They're right there.
What?
Miami and the Cardinals.
Yeah. So, honestly, I hope Chicago gets first,
It's like a 1.5
and I hope
game
the
difference.
Dodgers win because whatever happens, I don't want to see the Giants in the playoffs. Don't want to see them. I'll see them in the NLCS. I'd rather see the Dodgers than the Giants.
They're my
I tell you,
they're my pick to win it all this year. If you remember.
That's tough out there in the West. Who was up? Somebody was up a half game. Dodgers or whatever.
Dodgers are up a game right now.
Yeah, game. Okay, that's going to go tick and tack the rest of the year,
Mm-hmm.
unless somebody hits a streak where they lose 5 or 6.
So
So that's going to be the best division to keep an eye on.
Oh yeah.
we'll see
Yeah.
what happens with that.
Well, that in the American League
Mhm.
East.
So we're gonna jump ship real quick. Paul, can you said you're able to post pictures on the thing, right?
Yeah.
Can you find me a picture real quick?
Sure.
I want you to look up Randy Orton's forehead cut.
Oh god.
Look that. I want him to see. I just want to post it real quick because I didn't get to do.
talking about the wrong show. Right
I didn't
now.
get to do OT3 this week because our thoughts and prayers are with my co-host Anthony as he's dealing with.
Whoa, we got ghosts.
That's kind of weird.
That's kind of weird.
Wet ass infield in
So-
Baltimore. Looks like it just rained.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so Anthony's dealing with a loss in his family, so that's
Oh,
why I
I'm
didn't have
sorry about
OT3 this week. Yeah, I'm trying to say that, and you guys should start laughing. Horrible people.
My bad.
All
we
of
were
you.
talking
Terrible.
about that.
Horrible people.
Okay, go ahead.
So anyway, so real quick, just you can't find it.
I'm looking.
So real quick, they had SummerSlam this week. They crowned a new. There's a new championship on wrestling called the Universal Championship. Finn Balor won that, but then he had to get rid of it or relinquish it last night because he tore his labrum. Was that like a 6-month injury? They said, Coach, tore labrum for about 6 months.
That's a good. That's a good time. It could be longer than that.
I think he's still looking for the
think
picture right
he's-
now.
Yeah, no, that's a serious injury.
If you go to one of the if you go to one of the articles, that's where I found it at, and it was a little bit better in one of the articles.
Let's see.
But so the end of the match, so the final thing was Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton. As we all know, Brock just came back from USC. The spot at the end was Brock was supposed to deliver, I guess, some elbows to Orton. Well, Chris, there it is, right there. Paul, can you put that up?
It looks like Instagram.
Maybe it was. I don't know who we're taking this from. I hope we don't get in trouble
It
for
may
it.
not be. It may not be Instagram.
So what happened was he took a nice gash. He needed 10 stitches. Paul's going to post it up on the YouTube so you can see it.
That's not good looking.
And
That's a
the
mess.
thing is now with the PG areas, whenever there's blood, they're supposed to stop the match. So no one knows that they still haven't come out where this was supposed to happen and wasn't. There, Paul's putting it up right now. You can see it. It's pretty nasty. I think even Paul can agree it's pretty nasty to look at.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
10
Pretty nice
staples. So after, this is the funny thing, is after it ended,
This is a family show.
after it ended, you remember Chris Jericho?
Yeah, of course.
He went right at it with Brock, saying, I guess he was concerned, like, what are you doing? You're going after it. Because they're thinking that when Brock was on top, he went into UFC mode after just fighting no more than, 2 months ago? And went a little bit more than he did, so it's a whole controversy we'll talk about in OT3. So that was the end of that. He had 10 staples, which is pretty nasty.
Yeah, and that to me doesn't look like a blade cut.
No, that was
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
that
Because
was
obviously,
well. What happened was Brock, when he even does WWE, he wears his gloves.
right? And
He
he took, the
took
gloves
them off,
I know.
and at the end of this, he went a straight elbow right
No, that's
down,
what I'm saying.
and that's what it
a
looked
blade cut is going to be nice and
Like. That's
nice
those
and
are-
smooth.
That's
you
an
know what
elbow
I mean?
cut.
What are we talking blade cut? This is a street fight?
No, I'm just in the old days.
The rest when they would,
you might give yourself a little nick here, and
Oh
that's
yeah,
them
that's,
bleeding. You
that
know
was
what
with
I'm
the
saying?
glass tied
yeah,
in
but
tape.
this one's a straight.
This
It was a
doesn't
straight
look like-
elbow.
This doesn't look like
They're
that.
saying it wasn't, but then he's coming out saying, "Oh, I knew it was going to happen," and they're like, "Dude, you didn't know you were going to bleed that much."
No.
He was supposed to take an elbow. You can't tell me he wasn't supposed to take an elbow to the
He was probably
forehead.
supposed to take an elbow. Probably not. He probably didn't think this was going to. But the
I'd
problem,
take an elbow from Brock
but
Lesnar
the-
for his paycheck.
But the problem that people had was that after Brock saw him like this and the blood was coming out,
yeah.
he kept going back 2 more times and kept on giving elbows when it's like, okay, maybe you should have just maybe stopped after a minute.
All of his punches, except for that one elbow,
Probably
were
could've-
to his shoulder, to his arm. Come on, man. It was all scripted.
Oh, that's good. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
All right.
No pun to
He kept going back,
Monday
but
Night
it was.
Football.
Well, no,
You
the
know.
whole thing is now the PJ era is when someone's bleed, they'll postpone, like they won't postpone a match, but they've been known to stop it and try to cover up the wound because they've actually stopped matches now for stuff like this. Like they had on Paul, remember we talked about NXT?
Yeah.
One of the guys legitimately got his jaw dislocated this week.
Oh man.
The guy went for his knee shot and actually caught the guy and it
Wow.
dislocated his jaw. And the reason you know that is because the signal for the ref is he'll throw up an X, and that's mean when it's a legit injury.
Yeah.
As soon as the match ended, the guy rolled out, and you just saw the ref go straight like this.
Oh wow.
Like,
Did you see it? I mean, could you see?
You
his-
could tell, but here's the problem: was he broke it, and then the guy did the same move again. And you're like, what the fuck? I would be scared shitless when I see that coming again.
Damn. That hurt.
Like not again.
Could you imagine the guy's like, oh no. Like, how can he like
Yeah.
stop him?
So
from
like
doing
that was a legit dislocated jaw, and I don't know how long you'd be out for. I don't know if you're even out for
I
long
don't
with
know.
wrestling.
That's a good one.
I mean,
Dude, that's
if athletes dislocate their jaw, how long?
you're gonna be sucking on a straw for a good couple months, maybe longer.
Probably longer.
Yeah, with your jaw wired shut.
So let's move on to something real, to UFC this week, and we
I thought we were
had
gonna move to something real.
so we had McGregor versus Diaz this week. You know, the whole build up. Also McGregor's little comments also as towards wrestling. So Chris, I didn't get a chance to watch the fight. I read about Chris. You actually watched the fight. What were your reactions to it, and who do you think the real winner was?
I'm kind of upset. I was out for most of the night, but I did get a chance to watch that main event. Based off of what I saw, if I'm just judging that 5-round fight, I think McGregor won 3-2.
Okay.
I think it was fair. Diaz landed more strikes, quote unquote. But if you're talking accuracy, McGregor won. He threw less punches, but connected on a higher percentage of his
Like what
punches.
Mayweather you'll see do.
It's exactly what I was going to bring up, to a point where it was a defensive game plan by McGregor. A lot of people online, a lot of people everywhere are saying that he ran away, and that Big John McCarthy should have taken a point away for basically running. But when you've got your back to the cage, you escape, and you escape by basically running into the middle of the cage. So, I wouldn't say it was running. I'd say it's more of a defensive game plan. He knew last time he went for it in the first couple rounds, and he gassed out. And that's why he got taken down and eventually choked in the second or third round. I can't remember. But this time it was definitely a more methodical approach. He went with the leg kicks to soften up his lower body. And essentially he didn't fall for any of Diaz's tricks in terms of going to the ground. I'm pretty sure some of those knockdowns that McGregor had on Diaz, the power wasn't there, that it should have knocked him down. But Diaz was trying to bait him. He's trying to bait him to get him on the ground and have the fight in his world, which is on the ground. If Diaz wanted to fight his fight, it would have been more grappling. It would have been more takedowns. But he stood up and fought with Conor McGregor, and Conor McGregor had the smarter game plan and did the most damage and won 3 out of 5 rounds.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for that.
If somehow the 3rd and the 5th rounds were extended by like a minute,
Mhm.
he would have lost.
McGregor.
At the end of those rounds, Diaz finally got him on the ground, and he was doing his ground and pound. He was doing work, but he only had 10 seconds to do that.
Okay.
So,
Are we done with this? Does McGregor need to start defending his title now?
well, that's the thing is Dana White already came out and said there's no third fight. McGregor needs to go back to defending his title, and I'm not sure what Diaz is going to do, but basically he said no, there's no third fight.
Okay.
I still think there's a third fight, but that's probably going to be down the line if all the stars align.
All right. All right. So
Money's there. If the money's there,
Yeah, the money's there.
yeah, no star alignment. Is the money there?
Yeah. I
Dollar
think the money will
alignment.
be there.
did you see? He says the thing about a wrestling. Did you see what Brock Lesnar responded? Since Brock is a UFC fighter, he's probably the only one who can actually legitimately respond back. He's like, "I think shit's bigger than you."
Mhm.
And then also for UFC at the next pay-per-view, CM Punk will be making his debut.
Yep.
In the Octagon. So we'll see how that goes. He's actually I was surprised that on the card they have him as CM Punk, because I thought, but apparently he kept the rights to that name from WWE, because his real name's Phil Brooks, but he kept the rights to CM Punk.
Yeah.
So-
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was
it's-
worked into the contract way in the beginning, because didn't he come out from? I could have sworn he was an MTV person, right? Like that's where he came from.
MTV. No, you're thinking of the Miz.
Oh, okay, wrong guy.
The Miz, the guy who was in the real world.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So before we head out, we're gonna do some college football. I was just, as we do on the show all in our lives, looking at ESPN, and they have how each conference gets left out of the college football playoffs. and they have each conference on which team will be left out if it happens.
Right.
And for ACC, they don't have Florida State on there. They actually have North Carolina because they said
Really?
North Carolina could go undefeated.
But they could.
But they have 2 FCS teams on their schedule, and the committee takes into consideration who you play.
well, yeah,
right,
that's true.
right.
But here's my
they
thing.
improved, baby. They're not bad.
But here's my thing. Okay, cool. They beat 2 FCS teams. Why don't they take into consideration that Alabama plays a damn FCS team in Week 10 when everyone else is playing top-ranked teams? Why? I am so appalled by that in college football, how Bama and SEC teams put that on their schedule. Like, seriously? The committee.
You're fighting a dead horse.
It
there.
is,
Yeah.
but it's
Okay.
like it's
It's
basically a
deaf
practice.
ears.
It's basically a second string game for them. But
Well, if they rest,
it's where you rest
they
your
don't-
starters.
Yeah,
It's
and then
annoying.
the following week they play Auburn.
Where everyone else is, busting their asses.
It's scheduling. It's how they do their schedule.
Well, I hate
And
it.
for some reason, they have a week off there, so it's a money game for the team coming in, and it's pretty good money.
Well, they have the big spoiler team this year is probably could be Houston to where they could creep
Yes.
in. And I tell you what, we said this on our preview show.
Yeah.
I think
First week.
Didn't I have I had Houston in, didn't I?
Yeah.
I had Houston in the thing, and it's where, who do we have the first? Oklahoma.
Yes.
You get past all them. You could be. They could find themselves in it. Just for next week's show, we're actually going to preview a couple of the big games for the upcoming week. We'll go over that throughout the week, what games we're going to preview. So, Chris, you better get started on your college football.
Yeah, I got to watch it now.
Hey.
I tell you what,
that's-
it's exciting to watch.
It,
You'll
it-
start watching that more than you will the NFL.
Well, you
Oh,
saw when
really?
we went to the games at Maryland. I mean, they were crazy.
No, and I love those games, and I think it's more of the atmosphere. It was amazing.
When you're there in person.
Oh yeah.
We saw them play Florida State. Then me and you, this is where we actually saw C.J. Spiller. He took a kickoff back for a touchdown against Maryland. We saw that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they lost both games we went to.
No, they lost. They
Yeah.
lost. Yeah.
The Florida State was where they had, I think that was the year they actually had, there was like, I think it was a year where they could have made it to like the conference
That was-
championship. And
that
there was
was a
it
good-
was a close game, and
That
then
was
they
a
just,
close game until
then
the
they-
fourth quarter.
yep.
Until Florida
that's
State
where we
basically took
went to
over.
a parking lot to tailgate,
Yeah,
and we
that
ended
was
up
fun.
with Florida State fans everywhere.
Yeah, it was fun.
That same parking
As
lot.
long as you're there eating and feeding, you go ahead.
That
go
same
with it.
parking lot is where when I was in the academy where we did our scenario training at. I was like, God, this thing seems familiar. And I was like, oh yeah, it's where we tailgated.
Yeah, that was fun times.
Yeah. Too bad you. Yeah. How many games did you go to? Was it just those two?
Probably just those two.
Was it just
Yeah,
those two?
It was probably just those two. Yeah. Because I was the only one that got free ticket. Everyone else had to pay.
Yeah. Did you ever go to basketball games while you were there?
I don't think so. I've been to the stadium a couple, like the actual arena,
Well, yeah.
but not for the games.
Speaking of that, I see in the paper this week where Maryland has finally decided on their starting quarterback.
Oh, did we?
Was it Hills? Or,
Yes.
Yeah, Hills.
Oh,
Perry
really?
Hills.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
That's the converted linebacker, isn't it?
I'm not sure,
I think that was a converted linebacker. Yeah.
but it seems to be he's going to be the one that starts unless something happens after Monday.
Right. Well, I think that's definitely going to be a huge point of emphasis this year because last year was just terrible.
It was a circle. Well,
Yeah.
it was like a carousel. It was a circle. But like me and him said on the preview show for Maryland, get through this year, get those recruits in, and
Right.
get ready for next in the year after because we went over the recruits and they are stacked. They got a quarterback coming in Casey
Mhm.
Hill. I mean, Maryland after this year should be good to go
Well, let's
for the
hope
next couple
so.
of years because of
Yeah,
the coach.
Let's hope so.
I hope Durkin
Yeah.
has a good year. And they're actually, remember how we went over their winner loss schedule and actually what I said, we actually predicted more. They are actually predicted to make it to a bowl game.
Yeah.
Because
Uh-huh.
don't you have to win at least
Six.
half your games? Six.
They're not.
right?
I think they got rid of that 5 and 7 thing.
I think they got rid of it if you were an exceptional team
Yeah.
and you ended up 5 and 6, and I think that was mainly for like Nebraska or teams of that caliber that had a bad season. But
Mhm.
boy, do they draw when they go to a bowl game.
Right.
So
So again, money.
yeah, it's a money issue. Plus, what do they have? 85 bowl games now.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got one on all
keep-
the islands now. The Bohemian Bowl in the Bahamas. They got the bowl. I think is the one in Bermuda.
Is there really?
I don't know. I think so. There's one down there somewhere. I thought the Bermuda Bowl was one.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. All they got to do is get one up in Iceland. Yeah.
Iceland.
Well, I know for Maryland this
skate bowl.
year, I'm trying to find I can't find his name, but it's
What are you talking about?
for Maryland. It's the guy they just transferred back from. I think it was New Mexico State, who's going to be pretty good for them,
Right,
the wide
right.
receiver.
Just came in. this year.
The
to be
thing
a
with
senior.
the thing with Durkin is I was telling him on the show is he's recruiting a lot of guys in Florida where when he was at Michigan and Florida, that's where he was at.
That was his base.
And that's where he's staying at down there. So
And he'll do a good job. I mean, he'll do good in recruiting down there, and because he's brought in coaches that have worked with him and they're familiar with that recruiting area. So it's it'll be good. I hope they have a good season this year.
they need. I mean, last year was a little bit of a struggle, but I mean, like we said, the quarterback was all over the place.
Right. When you don't have a quarterback, even in any sport, you're in trouble.
So for next week's show, so that way you know in advance, we're gonna preview Oklahoma-Houston because that's probably the game of the week. Either someone's gonna get on the right track for a college football playoff or someone's not. Like we both said, last week, if Oklahoma loses this game, they're probably gonna be done because the Big 12 doesn't have a championship, so that's gonna hurt them.
So we have the draft next week, though.
For who?
For us.
For
Oh, we have ESPN and Yahoo.
yeah,
right?
the ESPN is
Okay,
next
okay.
Tuesday at 8, so we should be done with the show by
It'll
the time
be
that
basically
happens.
right after that. Yeah, it'll be right after the show.
Yeah. So also next week we're gonna preview that. We'll probably look at USC and Alabama, and Mississippi and Florida State. So college football. Before we go off the air, I want to talk about a show that I started watching on Netflix, which you watched the first episode of.
Oh yeah.
It's called Last Chance U. For some of you who don't know, it's about East Mississippi Community College, which is down obviously in East Mississippi.
Yeah.
Where these are the kids, as you say, their last chance. These are kids that didn't have the academics to get into a D1, or they were in D1.
Made a
and
mistake.
They had some trouble. They had some trouble in D1. So they had a kid this last year who was I think he was they were a backup. And then he also played John Franklin III. He's now potentially to be the starter in Auburn. They had a running back on the show named DJ Law. He's at UAB. Pretty good running back. Has some side. But like we said, a lot of these kids, if you watch the show on Netflix, a lot of them have character issues. A lot of them have never been dealt with the way this coach deals with them, the way he gives them, I guess, tough love or whatnot. And they also have, academic issues. I mean, Chris, you went to college, right? Of course.
I
Paul, school, right?
School, yes.
For schoolwork, what's the most important thing
Stay
you
in
need?
school.
What's the most important thing you need for schoolwork?
Pencil and paper.
Pencil and paper is my
Yeah,
guess.
some of these kids were going to class without that, and their academic advisor had to be like, "You need this for school." Like they were like, "Oh, I'll get it after the class." Like, what?
I thought you were
What?
going much deeper than that.
No,
No.
just that.
No.
Pencil and paper. That's what you need.
So, and then some of these kids, they look lazy. They can't stand getting yelled at. But the real thing that caught my eye was this team got suspended from the JUCO playoffs last year because right before the playoff, their last game, they got into this was a brawl. I mean, they had sideline people were throwing trash cans on the field. Helmets were getting flown off. Guys were getting stomped. I think, yeah, it was. And the coach had told them before the game, whatever they do, let it go. These guys are going to bait you because I think it was like a 3-win team. They had nothing to lose.
Right.
So what started the fight was first there was a couple, late hits or whatnot. I think their QB slid on the ground and he got, rattled in the head. What started was a run play, running back gets to the outside, gets taken down. After 3 seconds after play, he got straight up helmet to helmet, targeting right at his head. And then that just set everything off. And the coach was trying, coach is trying to say, get back to the sidelines. His players are saying, oh, the guy's getting stomped, and they're just running right past the coach. And then they get mad at the coach saying, you're not defending us or whatnot. The coach is like, defending what? You guys just cost, your season was just cost. He's like, I told you guys from the beginning they're going to bait you. And what really started was, it was right before halftime. Before the game, they had a ball boy. Went to go get a ball from the opposing side of the field. He got jumped by 3 of the other team's players, got busted open. So this started everything. So that wasn't a really good start. So it was like 2 minutes before halftime. They're already up 40-something, nothing, 42-0, 48-0. Coach calls 2 timeouts to get the ball back because he wants to score again. Which, honestly, if you're going to touch the ball boy, I have no problem if you're running up to score the first half.
Yeah.
But do you really think it's set too kindly with the other team?
Not really.
No. So,
No.
That's
So,
crazy.
I've watched the whole season. These kids are very undisciplined. Hopefully, going to bigger colleges will change that. But it seems like this was the kind of tough love they needed. Some of them took it. Some of them didn't. You watched the first episode. What did you think about it?
It's very interesting. It shows what you need to do when you're offered, the scholarship to the Division I or Division II teams, and it makes you responsible and liable for your actions. And if you don't do that in a division, any college football program, they're just going to let you go.
Right.
You're done. You did all, but down here this school gives you a second chance, and I think there's another junior college like this. I think it's in Arizona. Okay, so it gives you the second chance, but now down there they put it more on you. You have to. You must do this, and the one thing that got me was in high school, in order to be eligible to play, you have to have a 2.0. I don't know if they've raised it yet or not. Okay, which is a C. Here, the players have to have a B average,
Or they're
a
dropped.
3.0.
Or
Wow.
they're dropped.
So they are on them with their academic advisors, and that's what they need. And then the coach brings his, like you said, tough love into it. But they're giving you a chance
Right.
to redeem yourself, which a lot of times in life you don't get that chance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now you're getting it. Take advantage of it. Put it to your advantage, and your life, is in your hands. What you choose to do.
By the way, it's the first time I've ever seen a coach and a referee get into a fist fight.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently, I don't know if it was a penalty or something, and the ref, it wasn't an actual like on the field ref. It was like one of those sideline judges that stay with the guys who do the measuring sticks. He always has the jacket on and whatnot. The F-bombs were thrown at it. The coach went at him, and they were in each other's face, and the guy swung at the coach, and the coach, put his hands up, tried to push them back. I think the coach got a 2-game suspension for it, but I was like, the ref got ejected by other refs.
Oh my God.
He was escorted off the field, and it's like,
Yeah, well, that's just that's just no class. I don't know what the guy was doing with the officials.
well, as the ref
one.
was walking off, he was saying some inappropriate things he shouldn't have been saying either.
Well.
So I got to watch again to see what sparked that, but I was like, never seen a ref get ejected by other refs.
And what's it called again?
Last Chance U.
All right.
Take a look at it. Like the opening sequence for the show is the fight, and then they'll say like 3 or 4 months earlier, and then you're like, crap. Now I got to
it's
watch
a
the
pretty
whole
good show.
season to see what happens.
Right.
It's a pretty good show. I mean, it's interesting. I think if you can get some high school kids maybe to watch it to see what happens. It's an interesting show.
They are having a season 2, so
Yeah.
they'll be back on again probably next year.
Yep.
So
I think the first season was a 6-part.
yeah,
So
I expect more maybe for the second one.
yeah, anybody gets a chance, give it a look. It's very interesting.
Yep. So I think that's gonna do it for us today. I didn't give Paul the heads up.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right.
All right, well, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, so there's the music. So as always, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and thanks for downloading the podcast if you are doing that. You can visit the website www.shipesportstalk.com. Follow us on Facebook, which is Facebook.com/Shipe Sports Talk. On Twitter, it's @ShipeSportsTalk. In email at shipesportstalk@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your opinions on all the topics discussed. We'd love to hear about your favorite teams, the Redskins, the Washington Nationals, any local DMV sports that you want to talk about or send us. We'd love to hear from you. So, yeah, let's see what else. Did I cover?
Then you cover everything.
Yeah, did I?
OT3 will be returning next week.
Okay.
As soon as Anthony gets back from his sad news. Next week on the show, we'll go over the Redskins' last preseason game, see where the Nationals are at again, and start looking forward to week 1 of college football.
Yeah.
And then we got our draft coming up next week. We have the ESPN Shipe Sports Talk draft.
Mm-hmm.
And the week after that, we have the Yahoo one, which we'll be doing in studio. And me and Chris have both decided with Paul that during the live draft, we're going to go over each round, surprise picks or whatnot, have some fun with it. So
Okay.
we talked about doing the draft live, and now we are.
Nice. All right, cool. And so yeah, we'll be streaming that on YouTube and on Facebook now. I think this episode.
I didn't see it on Facebook, was it?
Yeah, it is now. I thought I hit it to go, but then it wasn't working. So when I went back to do it again, it stopped it and it didn't pick back up.
That's
Right.
fine.
But I got it like halfway through or something like
And
that.
then in 3 weeks, on September 11th, to start the NFL season, you'll be able to catch us from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Buffalo Wings and Beer for our NFL Sunday kickoff special, our second annual one.
That's right.
So you can catch us for that.
And Chris is going to be there this time, right?
Yes,
I will be there.
Nice.
he better be. Otherwise, we're not having it anymore.
No, I'm there.
Excellent.
Chris wants to have a beer and eat wings on air now.
We're going to
course.
have a hot wing contest.
No,
That's
not doing
fine.
that.
Do it.
Try to
be
get
great.
Coach to eat a hot wing. See how that goes.
Oh God.
He'll be in the bathroom just sipping the water from there.
Yeah, we'll have to do it at the end of the show because I don't think we can make 2 hours without
No,
Everyone
we'll be-
crying.
we'll be-
crying,
water.
It's not coming out your nose and everything.
making trips to the bathroom. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
It'll be like what was that? Zookeeper. It'll be like Kevin James. Chris will be over there drinking a pitcher of margarita to try to cool his mouth down. Won't realize it.
That's funny.
All right.
All right.
So, thank you, everyone. So for myself, Paul, Chris, and Coach, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week live again on air.
All right. See ya.